They've told you that feeling shame, getting up 2, 3, or even 5 times every night to rush to the bathroom and that annoying, traitorous drip that escapes right when you laugh or cough is simply what happens to men who pass 50 years old. That is a big lie. They've made you believe that your only real solution is to go under the knife or depend your whole life on a pharmacy that sells you pills to control something that with a little simplicity and practical knowledge, you can manage yourself. I'm Dr. Evelyn Carter, a urologist specialized in prostate and bladder health, and today we're going to completely dismantle that story. What's really causing that constant humiliation, that sleep interruption, that loss of control and your social freedom to go out is much simpler than you think. And no, it's not the inevitable fate of age, it's what you choose to eat and drink every day. If you feel that your life has been reduced to looking for where the nearest bathroom is on any outing, if you've accepted that you're no longer going to sleep well and that shame is your new constant companion, they've stolen your social freedom. The most serious obstacle you face is the fear of surgery and having to take medications forever. But I promise you that the solution is in the simple, which is changing some specific habits. What many specialists don't want to tell you is that before thinking about operations or pills that only mask the symptoms, you need to look at the fuel you're putting in your engine. You have a bladder that's a fighter trying to do its job, and you, without knowing it, are constantly irritating it with the 5 elements we're going to reveal now. Write a 1 in the comments if you want to recover control of your life. Write share if you know someone who needs to hear this. Let's begin. The most common mistake, the key and surprising point that most men make is assuming that if urine loss or constant urgency has to do with the prostate, the problem is only in the prostate. Let me be very clear with you. Prostate growth, known as benign prostatic hyperplasia, yes, is the beginning of the problem because it obstructs the exit and presses your bladder. But if to that pressure, you add a hyperactive bladder because what you drink and eat constantly irritates it, you're creating a terrible situation that multiplies the shame and suffering. You're attacking the engine, the prostate, but at the same time you're pouring poison into the gas tank, which is the diet. You must avoid believing that only by controlling the prostate, you'll solve everything if you don't stop consuming the 5 irritants that trigger that nervous urgency. And now, let's go to the simplest thing, so you can recover your control and your social freedom. Here are the 5 foods that irritate your bladder and that you must eliminate or drastically reduce. First irritant: coffee, black tea, and the dark side of caffeine. The first step to free yourself from sudden urgency is to stop giving your bladder constant chemical punishment. Coffee or that black tea in the mid-afternoon is the first thing you should avoid if you want to recover control. Caffeine makes you urinate a lot and is a known bladder irritant. By leaving it, you free your bladder from being nervous and overstimulated. Scientifically, what happens is interesting and easy to understand at the same time. Caffeine has 2 very bad effects. First, it's a diuretic that orders your kidneys to produce urine very quickly, filling your bladder before normal. Imagine a faucet opens. Second, and this is most important for urgency, it acts as a direct stimulant on your bladder muscle, the muscle that squeezes to empty. It's as if caffeine told that muscle, contract now, run. Even though the bladder isn't really full, the result is that sudden and desperate urgency. The simplicity here is that by cutting caffeine, you give that nervous muscle the order to relax. I'm going to tell you the story of a man I saw 3 months ago. Let's call him Mr. James. Mr. James was a 65-year-old architect from Chicago, a strong man, proud, who had accepted that his social life was over. His pain wasn't just physical, it was tremendous humiliation. He confessed to me that he had stopped going to important meetings with clients because the fear of having to run out in the middle of a presentation paralyzed him. He told me, "Doctor, the hardest thing is getting up at midnight, 4 or 5 times just to urinate a few drops. I feel like a child who doesn't control his body. His big mistake, His problem was his love for the 3 cups of espresso coffee he drank before noon and the Diet Coke he had in the afternoon. When I suggested eliminating caffeine, he looked at me with distrust, with the fear of failure stamped on his face. My advice to you is don't underestimate how much your caffeine ritual affects you. The simple thing in practice is to switch to caffeine-free drinks. Replace your morning coffee with decaffeinated grain coffee or herbal teas like chamomile or mint, which are calming. The exact dose for control is to completely eliminate caffeine for 14 days and see what happens. If you improve a lot, you can try to go back to having half a cup a day, but never after noon. End your day knowing that your bladder is at peace, ready to give you the uninterrupted sleep you so desire, recovering control over your nights. Second irritant, carbonated, sparkling, and fizzy drinks. The second element you must cut is that bubbly attraction of drinks with gas. It doesn't matter if they have sugar, if they're sugar-free, if it's soda or sparkling mineral water. The effervescence is your direct enemy in the fight for bladder control. You're freeing your body from the feeling of bloating and unnecessary pressure. The science behind this irritant is purely physical and chemical. The carbon dioxide that's injected into these drinks converts to gas in your body and produces bloating. This bloating in the abdomen creates direct and constant external pressure on your bladder. Imagine your bladder as a soft balloon. If something presses it, the bladder, even though it's not full, reacts by squeezing by reflex. Additionally, the acids in cola drinks or sodas directly irritate the inner layer of the bladder. You must avoid gas to avoid the pressure that takes away your control. Here I want to tell you the story of Robert, a brilliant 58-year-old engineer from Boston. Robert didn't drink coffee or alcohol, but was addicted to fizzy drinks. He drank 3 liters a day. His main pain was extreme shame because leaks occurred only when he made light efforts, like getting up quickly from the chair in a meeting or walking at a fast pace. He told me, "I feel humiliated. How is it possible this happens to me if I take care of myself?" I explained that the gas in his body was like wearing a tight belt on the inside. I removed all the gas, and his improvement was quick and surprising. His lesson and my warning to you is that gas isn't harmless. It's a weight that presses your bladder without rest. The simplicity of the solution is to return to water without gas, to natural and pure water. If the taste bores you, add slices of cucumber or melon, which are gentle and help balance pH. The dose for success is to leave these drinks completely for at least a month. You'll see how the reduction of abdominal pressure makes your bladder calmer, giving you back the social freedom to move without fear. Third irritant, the acidity of citrus fruits and tomatoes. The third irritant is the most difficult to accept for the man who tries to take care of himself. Foods that are very acidic. Think about orange, lemon, grapefruit, and yes, tomato, which is a fruit and an incredible source of irritation. You must avoid excessive acidity, not because they're bad in themselves, but because your sensitive bladder cannot tolerate a low acidity level. The scientific explanation is that urine is a waste liquid that your body tries to keep at a balanced acidity level. When you consume large amounts of very acidic foods, like concentrated orange juice or a very seasoned tomato sauce, the acids filter into your urine. Urine that's too acidic acts like a mild acid that damages the inner layer of your bladder. This tissue becomes irritated and inflamed, and an inflamed bladder is a hyperactive bladder that squeezes early, causing uncontrollable urgency. It's the simplicity of chemistry. I remember Mr. Thomas, a 73-year-old retiree from Philadelphia, a noble man who lived in the countryside and ate the tomatoes from his garden every day and the citrus from his own tree. His main pain was that he couldn't sleep. He got up at least 6 times. His life was perfect, except for the bladder. When I told him that the origin of his pain was in the juices of his own fruits, he almost got offended. He told me with sadness, "I've lived thinking that my diet was perfect, that orange juice is health." His difficulty was his attachment to the belief that everything natural is good for everyone. It's not for a sensitive bladder. I asked him to change orange for melon and tomato for less acidic vegetables like squash or cucumber. In 1 week, the nighttime visits reduced to 2. His story demonstrates that sometimes what we consider healthy is a powerful irritant for a specific organ. The simple thing in practice is to replace. Cut citrus juices that concentrate acidity and tomato in sauces and concentrates. If you want fruit, choose those that have less acidity, like banana, melon, watermelon, or pear. For your meals, use roasted red peppers or zucchini instead of tomato in your sauces. Seek control through less aggressive urine. 4th irritant, alcohol, especially beer. The 4th irritant is the great enemy of male social freedom, alcohol. And here I have to be specific. Beer is perhaps the worst enemy of an older man with urinary problems. You must avoid alcohol if you want to recover control over the end of your gatherings and the beginning of your sleep. The science here is a double blow. First, alcohol makes you urinate a lot, even faster than caffeine. It blocks the hormone that helps you retain fluids, forcing your kidneys to work overtime and filling your bladder very quickly. It's like an accelerator of urine production. But the second effect, the one that steals your control and leads you to shame, is that alcohol numbs your central nervous system. By numbing the brain, it interferes with the signals your bladder sends to warn you it's full, and worse yet, relaxes the sphincter muscle that's the one that retains urine. Beer in particular combines the diuretic effect of alcohol with a large volume of cold liquid. The result is very rapid filling and a lazy sphincter, a perfect combination for leakage, which means loss of control. Let me tell you the story of Michael, a 60-year-old man from Seattle who loved meeting with his friends on Saturdays. His main pain was the interruption of his activities. He had reached the point of lying to his friends about his health to not have to explain why he had to go to the bathroom every 20 minutes or why he had to use discreet protection. The humiliation was isolating him. He told me with a trembling voice, "Doctor, it's not the drink. It's the ritual of beer with my friends, and it takes away my social freedom." I asked him to change beer for mineral water or low-acid fruit juices. When he came back, he told me that the first night was hard, but that he drank 3 bottles of water with a little lemon. The surprise was that he didn't have to get up, but once, the whole night. His problem, his attachment to his identity, dissolved when he discovered that control in friendship didn't depend on alcohol. The simplicity is abstinence, especially if you want to sleep without interruptions. If you're going to drink, do it very early and replace beer with a drink with less volume, like a little red wine, but always with a stomach full of solid food so it absorbs more slowly. The ideal is 0 alcohol. The dose for control is to cut alcohol after 6 in the evening. The reward is 8 hours of straight sleep, maximum social freedom. 5th irritant, artificial sweeteners and spicy seasonings. The 5th and last irritant is a double category, but that acts in the same aggressive way. Artificial sweeteners and spicy seasonings. Here there's a subtle trap, that of diet products that promise simplicity, but that are really sabotaging you. You must avoid these irritants that directly attack the layer of your bladder. Science tells us that both capsaicin, the compound that gives peppers their spiciness, and artificial sweeteners like aspartame and saccharin have the capacity to inflame and directly stimulate the nerve endings of your bladder's protective layer. It's a direct chemical attack. Very spicy foods like a strong curry or a chili with lots of pepper cause the spicy residues to be eliminated through urine, irritating the bladder as they pass. In the same way, artificial sweeteners are strange molecules for your body, which when processing them, convert into direct irritants for the sensitive bladder, triggering that urgency signal. You're looking for simplicity in a sugar-free soda, but you're buying irritation. The simplicity in practice is to read labels and season with herbs. Eliminate from your diet drinks and foods that contain artificial sweeteners, returning to natural sugar in moderation if necessary, or using alternatives like pure stevia or honey, but carefully. As for spicy, reduce the use of strong spices like cayenne pepper or chili powder. Replace spicy with the flavor of fresh herbs like cilantro, parsley, or rosemary. The dose is total elimination of artificial sweeteners and reduction of spicy to what you can tolerate without feeling burning. The reward is a calmed bladder, lining giving you control over the feeling of emptying. Now that you have the 5 irritants, you must avoid falling into the victim mentality that waits for a magic solution. The key point of mentality is this: no diet, no supplement, not even the most advanced surgery will work without your personal commitment. Simplicity isn't just what you stop eating or drinking, it's the attitude with which you accept change. You must avoid thinking that you're too old to change or that this is too difficult. Consistency is what makes these solutions work. Control and social freedom are earned with 1 day of discipline at a time. Your mind must be your friend, not your jailer. We've traveled the path of simplicity to recover control of your bladder and the social freedom of your life. We've seen that humiliation and sleep interruption aren't your destiny, but the direct consequence of 1. Coffee and caffeine that overstimulate you. 2. Carbonated drinks that pressure you. 3. Citrus and tomatoes that make your urine acidic. 4. Alcohol, especially beer that fills you and relaxes your retention muscle. And 5. Artificial sweeteners and spicy that irritate you. You must avoid continuing to ignore this information. You must avoid continuing to live with that shame. I want you to recover control of your nights and your outings. I want you to recover your social freedom. Now I ask you to be honest. Look at yourself in the mirror and decide which of these 5 elements is the most difficult for you to eliminate. And most importantly, tell me what day, starting tomorrow, you're going to start reducing consumption of at least one of them. Your answer is a commitment, not to me, but to your own well-being and your own sleep. Tell me you're ready to take control of your life. I read you in the comments. I'm Dr. Evelyn Carter, and your social freedom begins with your choices today.